One Piece episode 1132 is here, and just when you thought Kuma's fight for freedom with Jinny and the Revolutionary Army would lead to brighter days, think again, because a brutal twist is coming. Jinny's fate takes a devastating turn in this episode. Back at the Revolutionary Army's Baltigo HQ, they get word that the Tumi uprising in the South Blue has apparently taken a turn for the worst, and backup is desperately needed. And get this, Iva and his forces can't even help out because they're stuck tending to the wounded back in Goa Kingdom. Remember Luffy's flashback? The burning of Grey Terminal? Dragon, Iva, and Kuma rescued people there. This Tumi uprising is happening right after that. Iva's crew is busy, leaving a massive power vacuum. That's when Kuma steps up. This absolute unit declares he's going in solo. Iva, his friend, is like, "Dude, don't be so reckless," adding that Kuma's been like this ever since that day. You just know that's foreshadowing something heavy. And then, with a wham, Kuma slams down onto the Tumi battlefield, surprising all the enemy forces with his staggering size. His mind, laser-focused on one thing, Jinny, captured. Kuma, he's a man with absolutely nothing left to lose. Over the Den Den Mushi, they got the dreadful news. Jinny, the vibrant, fiery heart of their crew, had caught the eye of a celestial dragon. Some absolute sicko on a world government ship had snatched her, with the disgusting intention of making her his bride. This was 14 years ago, mind you. Jinny, just 37 years old, ripped away. The revolutionaries, Kuma included, they tried, man. They worked tirelessly to get to her while still juggling their missions, liberating islands, but they just couldn't reach her in time. Yet, despite this crushing weight on his soul, Kuma's intervention in Tumi, it turns the tide. The location Tumi itself is probably a pun, like a certain sea, just someplace needing a hero, and Kuma delivers. He's called the hero of the people there, fulfilling that burning desire he had to be a hero like Nika. After 3 long, brutal years of struggle, the people of Tumi finally overthrow the leaders of their country, all thanks to the Revolutionary Army's backup, with Kuma as the spearhead. Continuing to recall that previous event, the men over the Den Den Mushi cried, as they admitted that the enemy took them by surprise. As the proper flag of the Revolutionary Army rose in the newly liberated country, the Marines quickly caught wind of the event. The rebels were being considered heroes of the people. Kuma remembered Jinny's former comrades, the ones from Tumi, practically weeping, begging for forgiveness after he pretty much single-handedly saved their nation. Kuma contacted Dragon, letting him know that he'd worn himself out fighting and would be returning with a ship. As they sailed, he remembered how sorry those men were. It had now been close to 2 years since Jinny had been captured for the sake of becoming a celestial dragon's wife. Then, as the sun's rays hit a certain ship, a baby named Bonnie cried, and a mother, Jinny, assumed they were close to their destination. Back at headquarters, Kuma was told there was an urgent call. It's Jinny. Her voice, initially so enthusiastic. "Kumachi, I finally made it back to the surface of the world." But her tone soon shifted. Hard. The world nobles, those monsters, they didn't want her around anymore after she got sick. So they just threw her away. She tried to frame it as a stroke of luck. Kuma was stunned. Sick? What is she talking about? Jinny says she wanted to see all of them one final time, but this call would have to suffice as a goodbye. Much to Iva's irritation, Kuma was in a full-blown panic. Unsure of what Jinny was talking about, he wanted to know where she was. "I can get there in an instant," he yelled, admitting to being afraid that he would never see her again. Jinny smiled through the Den Den Mushi, a heartbreaking pause, and then she apologized to him once more. Unfortunately, she was already at death's door. She was happy to hear that he cares about her, but didn't want him to see her as she was. Kuma didn't wait. He immediately turned to leave. Nobody could hold him back. He shoved his way through, already knowing there was only one place she would go. As Kuma poofed away, Jinny mentioned how Kuma has a big heart to Dragon and Iva and asked them to take care of him for her. And then, her final words. Unheard by the man she loved most. "Kumachi, I love you. I always have. And I always will." Kuma returned to their Sorbet church home, their sanctuary, and demanded to know where Jinny was. All the old folks confirmed that she was here, but it was too late. Her condition took a turn for the worst when she was exposed to natural light. Her face and entire body had all turned blue in the sun, and her skin hardened like stone. This is that sapphire scale disease. Tears filled Kuma's eyes. He remembered all the wonderful times they had shared together. Holding her lifeless body, he questioned what could have possibly done this. He couldn't stop crying when he remembered her talking to him about getting married, wondering if it wouldn't make him happy. He held her close as he shook and cried. Jinny had used all the time she had left, exposing herself to that deadly sun, and she did it to cross the ocean and make it home to them all. for the sake of ensuring her baby's safety. Yes, people, what you're thinking is true. Ginny was forced to have a baby with that celestial dragon. Kuma looked at the child, this tiny, innocent baby, who was also crying. He assured Ginny that she could rest in peace. He swore to raise Bonnie well, even though he realizes who she is. The child of a celestial dragon. It's not the baby's fault. This is Ginny's last wish. Kuma made sure to create a beautiful grave for the woman he loved. This is cruel and unusual punishment, man. It's honestly sickening. This is that tact Oda uses, showing the horrifying atrocity of celestial dragon cruelty, like with St. Charlos trying to take a wife, or the Boa sisters' trauma, and Bonnie. Now, having protected Charlos back at Sabaody to avoid an admiral, the irony is painful. This would technically make Bonnie a celestial dragon, but probably not considered pureblood. And yes, this confirms Bonnie is still a kid, born 12 years ago. She's just using her Toshi Toshi no Mi, age fruit, to change her age. Younger than Ginny was at God Valley. This explains why she's so emotional and reckless. But even in these dark times, brighter moments were ahead. Soon after, Kuma was being reprimanded by all the old folks at once. He was struggling to properly feed Bonnie, getting flooded by a ton of parenting advice. They also insisted that Kuma be sure to place Bonnie's crib inside an iron cage to avoid crushing her in his sleep. He's a big dude, and he did it. Bonnie, true to her mom, was being fed with a bottle that was even bigger than herself, but had no trouble finishing it up. One villager even mentions her being a big eater like her mom, which made Kuma smile and cry tears of joy. Remembering he called Ginny a big eater, time continued to pass. Bonnie's first words, "Daddy," and Kuma, this tough revolutionary, just completely broke down, crying his eyes out. He cried when she took her first steps too. Bonnie was adorable, and everyone loved her. Once she could handle solid foods, she had no trouble devouring a bunch. Whenever Kuma had revolutionary business to attend to, he would leave her in the care of the old folks. Kuma spent all his free time with his daughter, but still fought hard alongside the Revolutionary Army. He even helped train Sabo once he joined the revolutionaries. But yet again, like everything else in Kuma's life, things took a bad turn. Strangely, Kuma had suddenly boarded up all the church's windows. When his friends came over to check on him, he told them to quickly close the door. Afterwards, Kuma showed them something that was below Bonnie's eye. It was a blue stone. This was the very same horrifying condition Ginny faced at the end of her life. And in the present, this is exactly where Bonnie's piercing is. The future members of the Bonnie Pirates rushed to get a doctor, and Kuma thanked them. The first doctor was a total idiot that suggested they take her out to see if sunlight is really the issue, which only pissed Kuma off. The next doctor was able to discern that it didn't seem to be white lead poisoning, like inflevence, or some lost form illness, but apologized since she wasn't familiar with Bonnie's illness. This is that sapphire scale disease. Blue stones growing on the skin when exposed to sunlight or moonlight. A terminal illness, rare these days but more common in older times. Could Saint Saturn, with his Gyuki powers to spread disease, be involved? His astrological gemstone is blue sapphire. This would explain Bonnie's grudge against Saturn, not just for Kuma, but for her mother too. And a disease allergic to sunlight? That's a curse against Nika's people who revere the sun. In response to this nightmare, Kuma made the hard, soul-crushing decision to quit the Revolutionary Army. He wasn't sure if it was the right thing to do or not, but he knew he needed to stay by her side. Dragon wasn't happy to see his friend leave, but understood, since it's important to live life without regrets. Dragon promised Kuma that they would make use of their contacts to get a hold of doctors all over the world to help Bonnie, and Kuma was very grateful. From there, we'd fast forward to 7 years ago, when Bonnie was 5. It was already made clear with the timing of her birth, but here we finally know for certain that Bonnie is 12 years old in the present. 3 children were running for their lives, trying to get away from a vampire Bonnie. She shouted that they should all stay out of the church while flipping the bird. They mocked her from the doorframe, knowing that she couldn't step out into direct sunlight. Holding a cross, the one in the middle dared the vampire to come any closer, sure that the Holy Cross would be her weakness. Bonnie delivered a flying kick to his head while pointing out how stupid he was. After all, we were already inside of a church. As the little boy ran away crying, she claimed to be coming after him, which immediately drew the attention of her ever-protective father, Kuma. He begged her not to go outside, that even just standing near the doorway would be harmful to her. Bonnie did her best to console her worrisome father, telling him that she was just kidding, but he begged her not to even joke about something like that. She soon agreed, since she doesn't like it when her dad gets sad and worried. He happily hugged her with tears streaming down his face since she was such a good kid, but she told him to stop being such a crybaby all the time. Although Bonnie was still frustrated that the other kids were making fun of her face stones, poking at them a bit, she wondered if they were really that strange. "It's not like I can help it. I didn't ask to get sick after all." That's when Kuma rushed to her side, claiming that, "Those aren't stones, Bonnie. They're jewels." He told her that they were all just jealous because Bonnie had such pretty jewelry. This made the little girl laugh and smile brightly. Kuma added that he loves them. And bam! Now we know why she's called Jewelry Bonnie, and that piercing she has now? It's right where those stones were. Maybe to cover a scar, or as a symbol of pride. While the two of them played with toys, Kuma asked his daughter, "Hey, once you get better, where'd you like to go on a trip?" It didn't take long for Bonnie to come up with her answer. She asked him if he had ever heard about the legendary Sky Islands. Kuma couldn't believe that there were islands way up in the sky, but Bonnie insisted that it was true after reading about it in a book. And that book Kuma always carried? That Bible? It's not just any religious text. The cross on their church has a sun emblem on it. That's the symbol of the ancient kingdom, of the D clan. Kuma's parents preached in a church devoted to the sun god Nika. His faith, his deep belief, it's all tied to Nika. This Bible might hold actual secrets of the Void Century. The back of the Bible even features a symbol Kuma would later incorporate into his outfit. This explains Kuma knowing about Sky Islands, sending Nami to one. And Bonnie, reading this book, found out about Sky Islands, places tied to Joy Boy. Since they were so high up in the sky, she wondered if they might be able to see Nika there, knowing that it would make her dad really happy. To that, Kuma began doing the Nika dance, mimicking the drums of liberation. "That sounds like a grand adventure," he exclaimed. He promised to take her there to celebrate her 20th birthday. "But where should we go for her 19th?" her answer. "Fishman Island. So wholesome." But you already know how the story goes. Once Kuma starts having too much fun, Oda decides to crush him even more. Outside of the church, Kuma met with another doctor. This one confirmed that Bonnie's condition was a terminal one known as Sapphire Scale. Kuma asked the doctor to please keep his voice down. The doctor admitted that the condition is rarely seen these days, but was more common in older times. The blue stones on the body grow rapidly when exposed to any natural lighting from sources such as the sun or moon. But even if exposure is completely avoided, the disease would catch up to a person eventually. To put things bluntly, Bonnie had at best only another 5 years to live. Surviving to the age of 10 then would be a miracle. There was no way to save her based on the world's current scientific understanding. These words rocked Kuma to his very core. Opening the door, he thought to himself how unfair their situation was. He wondered if there truly wasn't any possibility of a cure. If Kuma's struggle and Bonnie's story are hitting you right in the feels, smash that subscribe button to stay in the loop. Toss a like our way too. It gets this recap to more One Piece fans. Alright, let's jump back into the tragedy. Just then, Bonnie popped out to surprise him. Kuma was shocked since he thought she was asleep, but with a huge smile on her face, Bonnie told him that she heard everything. She was sure that he said it would all be over by her 10th birthday. Kuma feigned ignorance, claiming that he had no idea what she was talking about, but she was sure he said it. Although, seeing that he was crying, she wondered if she said something wrong. Kuma, shakily, began to speak to her. He admitted that the conversation she had overheard was about her illness. He called the doctor a fool, twisting the truth, saying the doctor said her condition would continue as is until she's 10 years old. Bonnie wanted to know more, and Kuma told her that after hearing about such an appalling amount of time, he couldn't help but feel sad afterwards. But Bonnie's interpretation was very different. Pure, unadulterated hope. She was sure that it meant she'd be all better by the time she's 10. Overjoyed, she was sure that the two of them would be able to go on all the trips they talked about. Kuma realized that he had given her false hope, but he couldn't stand to crush her spirit with the truth. So, he played into it, happily proclaiming that once she's 10 years old, she will be cured. But then, 1 year later, a total nightmare reoccurred in the Sorbet Kingdom. People cried out for Kuma to save them. The tyrant King Bakori had returned and was as horrible as ever. The situation was similar to how it was 16 years ago. The celestial lapdog planned to split the country and cast away the poor. In fact, he was going to burn people inside their homes. This is almost certainly the event that leads Kuma to become the king of Sorbet, taking Bakori's place. But then, for some good reason in the eyes of the world government, he's branded a tyrant, deposed, and forced to flee as a pirate, later arrested, making that deal with Vegapunk to become a warlord in exchange for studying his buccaneer body. Vegapunk has met Bonnie before Egghead. His science is hundreds of years beyond. Maybe Kuma removed the disease from Bonnie but had to take it on himself, becoming a cyborg to survive? Is that why he doesn't want Bonnie to see his memories, to not feel guilty? Why did Saturn order Kuma's death? What was the true purpose of the Pacifista project? All these pieces are falling into place, leading us right to Egghead. Man, this was easily one of the roughest episodes to get through. The Ginny stuff, the celestial dragon cruelty, it's berserk-level depravity in a series that's usually goofy and fun. But this flashback isn't over yet. Poor Kuma. If you were on the edge of your seat with this one, definitely smash that like button and make sure to drop a comment down below. Every comment helps get this out to more One Piece fanatics like us, and you know YouTube loves that engagement. And seriously, if you're absolutely gagging for the breakdown of the next episode where we hopefully see Kuma find some peace, flood those comments with "next episode" so I know to get that out to you, Legends of Sap.